health and wealth or fitness and finance have in common is that people are always confused when we talk about finances. Like, I'm confused about what a stock is versus a mutual fund. What's a Roth versus a 401k, whole life, term life. And we kind of find some of those same situations when it comes to dealing with, fitness. What's a macro? What's cardio? Should I be doing anaerobic or should I be doing aerobic? And it can be so confusing. And one thing that I had a moment to speak to our special guest before we got started. And one thing that I see immediately that we have in common is that we believe that the only way people can really move forward in their journeys is to get things in plain terms that they understand. Right. So with that being said, I'm going to take a second to introduce our special guest. I'm going to call him Big Brother Marcus Bailey. For those who know and see and watching this live, you can see the 1911 in the back. So this is one of my fraternity brothers who actually helped pave the way for me. Indeed. So yo to the noops, and super excited to get started, man. So Brother Bailey, before we get into the information, everything you want to share, tell us a little bit about your background and what you do and why you do what you do.
Sure. Well, professionally, I have a background. I worked in the financial industry for a number of years. I was a licensed banker. I got into branch management and business banking. For the last probably like 6 to 7 years, I've been in marketing and advertising. So essentially my job is to help businesses create a clear and concise message to attract consumers to their brand. And in that, overlaid on top of that personally, for the last 15 or so years, I've been on a personal health and wellness journey. So I shared in one of my videos that I looked at myself one day on a photo. I was disgusted with what I saw. And I know sometimes we don't like to, we don't like to say that you shouldn't talk to yourself like that, or, you shouldn't be negative, but sometimes, as Jim Rohn says, you can, learning from the bad or wanting to run away from the bad is just as effective as running towards the good. So I simply use that to make a change, kind of stumbled my way through, educated myself over the years, and really just now want to turn that into usable and, as you said, simple information for other people to get on that path that I found myself on, but not take 15 years to do it.
No doubt. So a couple of correlations here, and I told you I was going to share something with you that I don't know if you knew or realized. So most people know me for being in the financial service industry, as the ECFO or financial advisor, if you will. But my after I graduated, my first job after teaching back in Akron is I'm actually a personal trainer. I'm a strength and conditioning coach.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So what brought me to Columbus, Ohio was a position at Lifetime Fitness as a personal trainer. And I quickly moved into a management role there, managing almost 30 trainers. So when I was reading your background, I was like, this is funny because both of us kind of share this commonality, right? Being in the financial services, but also too on the health and wealth piece, right? Well, on the health and fitness side. So I've always known when I put my company Financially Fit together, it's like, man, these two tie together like nobody's business. And I'm almost hearing the same thing from you. In short, it's like, man, the 15-year journey, being a banker and the whole nine. So if you will, man, just tell us a little bit before we get into the meat of this. What similarities do you see between what you did as a banker and then what you're doing right now on the fitness side?
That's a great question. And I can really sum that up into one similarity. And that's that confused people do nothing. Confused
Facts.
people do nothing. So in the banking industry, that's a sales role. And it, people that have a business, you're into selling. And I can give you a bunch of information. I can give you a bunch of data. And we're people, we're human. So our egos will shake our head. Oh, sounds good. I understand. Sounds good. But when I walk away, if I'm confused, I'm like, I don't know what the hell he just said. So I'm not doing anything. So one of the things that people are scared to do financially is first acknowledge that there's a problem.
Ooh.
Is the first thing. Second, you have to then have someone simply tell you and take some of the scary out of it and say, listen, you know, having more money is simple as creating a budget and just finding one place that you can cut $10 back. Oh, well, I didn't know that. I thought I had to download mint.com. I thought I had to get a, you know, CPA involved.
Yep.
Very simple. So financial fitness, physical fitness is really just about doing a few simple things repeatedly over time. And then you get those compounded results. So it's the same thing as just trying to take the confusion. And honestly, that's where I think a lot of people, and no disrespect to those out there in the industry, a lot of people make their money off of confusion. You know, the more confusing I can make it, the more you need me. You know, and I'm just simply taking a different approach. Not that that one is wrong, but my approach is, hey, the simpler I can make it, the more you'll need me. So that's the more people I can reach, the more simply I can make it. So that's kind of the correlation, but you know, that's
Man, that's absolutely fire. So here's the deal. It's so funny. When I have my strategy calls or i.e. sales calls with folks, I tell them, I say, here's the deal. I hate people in my industry because they're going to try to make it sound so confusing to the point where it's like, I have no idea what to do.
right.
I got to do this. But in doing that, because I think sometimes in the financial industry and even sometimes in the fitness industry, we want to sound smart. Right. We want to use terms that people have no idea what they're, saying you're talking about. And we probably hurt people more than we help them as far as those individuals that do that. So I'm 100% on board with you. Let's put it in terms that people can understand so they can make decisions. Because to your point, confused people do nothing. And your health and your finances are way too important not to do anything or to have that paralysis by analysis because you think you got to have 20 apps and you think you got to, I love it. I just absolutely love it. So tell us a little bit, man, about your journey, because I'm interested in this because I heard you at the beginning of the talk, you talked about how you looked in the mirror one day and didn't like what you saw. And I've only seen you one way. And I saw a post you had recently. And I was like, wow, he chopped it down a lot. Yeah. So walk us through that, man, that process. So don't give us the entire 15 years. We don't have that much time, but tell us about this journey, man.
Yeah. So basically, like you said, and like I alluded to, I saw myself at one point, just one day, I see myself in the mirror every day at that point, 15 years ago. But I looked at pictures, and at that moment, I saw myself like other people see me. And I said, man, I got to do something different. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know which diets were best, this or that. All I knew is I needed to make a change. So I think that's the first thing on any journey is you got to take, as people have said, and the cliches, you got to take the first step. So the first thing I did, I said, look, I'm just going vegetarian. I didn't know if that was the right thing to do. I didn't know if that was optimal. All I knew was, okay, if I'm vegetarian, that's no McDonald's, that's no this. No. So that just cuts things out and cuts my excuses out from doing those types of things. From there, all I did was just read, listen, learn. I read books, medical literature, lectures and studies and all that kind of stuff. And I just refined over time what was best, for me, but then I took, okay, that may not be best for everyone. So then I just started to continue and kind of put my sales hat on and said, hey, how can I transfer and translate what I've learned that's best for me and kind of create a universal set of, I don't want to call them truths, but a universal set of thoughts that are simple for everyone to follow so that no one feels like if you don't do it like I did it, you're not doing it right. I just wanted to give people an opportunity to say, take some step in some direction towards wherever it is that you want to be, but you have to take some first step. And I want to try to create some opportunities for people to say, oh, well, I can do that. Once I do that, what do I do next? So that was my health journey, is just one step after the other, constantly refining and reviewing and cutting this out, adding this to it and all these kinds of things to the point where, at 43 years old, man, I feel fantastic. My health is great. Praise God and all, but
indeed,
look and feel great, and I've humbly hear from other people like, man, you look great. So I don't want to, be too egotistic about it, but to hear that from people in my age group and peers of mine,
Yeah.
kind of gives you the feeling, hey, I'm doing something right.
Well, brother, you got me motivated. I saw a video you doing some deadlifts, and I said, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to head down and head down and work out with him one day. We have to catch a workout one day, man.
No, yeah.
So, yeah. So, a couple things, man. I want to make sure that I'm just taking notes as you're writing because there's so many gems that you're dropping here, and they're coming so quickly. So, I just want to just kind of highlight a couple things. So, one of the first things you said, man, was first you have to acknowledge where you are. Like, you really have to be honest and acknowledge where you are. And you mentioned something about how you see yourself every day, but this particular day you saw yourself how other people saw you. And the first thing I thought about was a picture, right? So I can look at myself every day in the mirror and whatnot and be like, yeah, I want to lose a little bit of weight. But when the aha moment hit me after the pandemic and I put on a solid pandemic 20 or 30,
Mm-hmm.
is when I saw a picture.
Yeah.
And it's something about that picture or seeing it in front of you, right? You know what I'm saying? So not even just how I look in the mirror, because, perception is going to, be off and things of that nature. But when you see a picture and you're like, wow. And that's what I found even worse with people from a financial standpoint. Like they may not even realize how bad their finances are until they see it laid out in front of them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, they had no idea. So I think that's super important there, is that acknowledgement and being able to look at it out of a different lens.
Mm-hmm.
The simplicity, absolutely love that. Just let's get this thing simplified. It's not a rocket science, right? I definitely appreciate that whole piece. And then this journey, what I'm saying, right? So there's not a lot of people who will get on here, but not a lot of people in the fitness industry per se, who are going to tell you about a 15-year journey, because everybody's going to tell you about the 90-day journey. Oh, I went from, 30% body fat to, 5% body fat in 90 days. But you're speaking about a 15-year journey. Yeah. And the deal is with that 15 years, somebody may hear that and, folks who have commitment issues and be like, oh, 15 years, I ain't got that long. But what you said was so key. You've had to you had to first take that first step, but then you had to refine it and figure out what's best for you. And I see the same thing in business where people jump out there and they're like, okay, I need to do this, but they don't stay in it long enough to refine it and fix it and figure out what really works for them. You know what I'm saying? And they miss that opportunity, right? So there's so many correlations here, man. It's just absolutely phenomenal, man. You know what I'm saying? Just as I hear it here, I'm like, yep, this is it right here. Simplification, acknowledgement where you are and moving forward, and applies to health and finances and the whole gambit. So brother, tell me this. Go ahead.
Something I'll say really quick that I think really slows people up. And this is something that I've certainly had my battles with, but was able to get over it fairly early. And I believe this to also be the case, but I'll defer to you as the expert in business, is that the quicker people can get over comparing themselves to others. So we compare our need work self to someone's final result. And I don't look like them yet, so maybe that one doesn't work. Instead of, we don't see the 15 years behind. You look at a successful business and say, well, man, how can I be the entrepreneur CFO too? You don't see the struggles and the ups and downs that you've had.
Yeah.
So once we can get out of competing with other people and just try to be better than what we were yesterday, so many things can happen.
Man, I love that. Those who don't know my story, to your point right there, so they may say, man, Perry, your business is thriving and X, Y, and Z. One, what you see on the exterior is not always a true reflection of what's happening on the inside. And I say this, kind of even throwing this back at you from a health standpoint. Sometimes you see folks who look phenomenal. Like I see it in the gym all the time. The cats are all chiseled up and whatnot, but I'm watching how they move and I'm like, wow, the way you're lifting that, your back is going to be blown out. Man, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what type of issues they have with their heart, right? You know what I'm saying? So it's just, a lot of times we get so focused to your point of exterior, what we see on the exterior, and without knowing the true backstory. And because there are some folks walking around. I remember I had a trainer that I managed, and I would refer him to clients because he was the smartest person in the gym, but he didn't look like your stereotypical personal trainer. He wasn't 5% body fat and whatnot. He had a little belly on him,
Yeah,
right? You know what I'm saying? But he was strong as an ox because he wasn't training to be on stage.
that's right.
He was training for strongman contests. So he wasn't worried about being lean. So because he didn't look lean, people were like, oh, he's not a good trainer. You got these out of shape personal trainers in here. And he was the strongest, probably most flexible person in the building, and definitely the smartest by far.
Hmm.
So one, what we see exteriorly, and then also two, you talk about the journey. Those who don't know my journey know, I lost. The reason I got into entrepreneurship full time was I got fired from my job, right? Making good money. And that was, about 6 years ago. But prior to that, those who don't know, I lost a $4 million real estate portfolio during when the market crashed in 2007 to 2009. So
Wow.
those experiences, which were horrible experiences, gave me a certain skill set and expertise to navigate those arenas, and reason I'm able to help clients out. So to kind of just piggyback on what you just said right there, Noop, we see the finished product, but not everything that goes behind it. And I wish more people were more transparent about sharing, like, yo, yeah, this right here, this is 15 years in the making. This is 17 years in the making.
That's right.
Because then I think if with that transparency, more people would see success and not get so frustrated on the front end.
That's right.
Man, just absolutely valuable, brother. So what are you doing now? Because your story is, you have a phenomenal story. You're helping people. Like, what is the goal? I saw that you're looking to try to write. You're in a process of writing a book and
Mhm.
things of that nature. So tell us how you're helping people and going about that whole piece.
So yeah, so I'm in the process of writing a book because again, what I wanted, what I really want to be, and I guess to boil it down into one sentence, is I want to be for other people what I wish someone would have been for me 15 years ago. Saying it in a way that I would have loved to just heard it 15 years ago. Tapping me on the shoulder and said, hey, I don't know if anyone's told you this, but you can take control of your health and your well-being. It's not all up to your family history. Don't buy into what the marketing and the advertising says. Don't let the people who profit from your food tell you what's good for you. You know, all those types of things, and just give you some simple, practical, and straightforward things to chew on. Um, I just want to be for people now what I wish I would have had. So I started in the process of writing a book. And to be very honest, I really just kept getting jammed up. I don't think I'm really um, I'm not a good, I'm not a book writer type of a guy. I can write and I like reading, but I just kept getting tied up. So in the process of kind of getting unstuck there, I wanted to start putting it into words because I'm fairly good, being able to articulate a point and get in front of a group or put something down in words. So then I started to do some YouTube videos, and that really has helped me translate from voice back into words. So the process of writing a book kicked me into wanting to start the videos because I was having problems with the book. So now that's kind of helping me get back. And ultimately, what I want to deliver is put things in people's hands that they feel like, you know what, I've been waiting on this. And I really would like to take what took me 15 years to figure out, someone 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. Okay, great. Now I get it. So if I can add 2, 3 years to 10,000 people's lives, or 20,000 people's lives, or add a quality of life to their last few years, or whatever it might be, what a phenomenal gift to be able to give that to people. It's just invaluable.
Invaluable, man. You talk about legacy. That's what I'm talking about right there. So it's so crazy, man. And it's wild that we know each other, but we really haven't had a in-depth conversation around this. But what you
Yeah,
said right here resonated so much in my soul. To be for to be for other people now, what you wish you had, 15 years ago,
yeah,
is so powerful. And as we kind of tie this into the whole profitology piece, where some might be listening, like, why are we talking about health when it comes to profit? Because it's all tied together, right?
for sure.
And it always comes down to what I found is the most successful people learn how to condense time frames, how to go from what took somebody else 15 years to do to your point, getting it done in 2, 3, 5 years, right? And that's just invaluable, man. And to give people just a healthier lifestyle and a better quality of life and the vitality, as you kind of said, is just it's almost I almost have a loss for words because it's so important.
Yeah.
I help people. I kind of focus now, Brother Bailey, on helping people obviously on the financial side,
Yeah.
but let's keep it 100 with each other. You can have all the money in the bank in the world, but if your health is poor, and or you can't go enjoy it, or you can't walk 10 steps on vacation, doesn't make sense to you have all that money, right?
That's right.
So you got to have this health piece. It's
That's right.
so dang important, and
Yeah.
the two tie together. So you mentioned something earlier on. We talked about just putting things in layman's terms, simple terms that people can understand. Give us, man, maybe 3, 5 tips, whatever you want to do, just in layman's terms that you would, advise, not advise, but kind of to your point there, put things in terms that people can really digest and rock with when it comes to, just creating a healthier lifestyle.
Yeah. So a couple of things that, I really try to convey and some of the major points that I want to kind of get across in terms of simplicity. And you mentioned it earlier, macros and micros, and should I be on keto, and is it this and that? Ultimately, it comes down to the simplest of ingredients as it was grown and as it was raised. So if your diet, and just for all disclosure, I'm plant-based. I don't advocate and I don't push anyone else to be plant-based. So people think that's the advice that they're going to get from me.
Uh-huh.
And I tell them, hey, listen, it doesn't really matter all these different chemicals, ingredients, macros, micros, all these kinds of things. If you can eat food that comes from a farm versus a factory, you're good to go.
Like that.
So if you're going to
That's
eat
easy.
chicken, eat a chicken that grew up like a regular chicken would grow up.
Right?
You know, if you're going to eat a fish that grew up like fish grew up, not like on a farm.
Right.
And there's a lot of science that goes behind that as of why and what diets they have on, but I'm not going to talk about the chemicals and the antibiotics and all those kinds of things. Simple food, real food,
Wow.
simple as that, and there's a lot of things that go into it because the truth is, and here's kind of simple point number two, a lot of us are starting from, say, up here in terms of where our level of bad things we do, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
And what a lot of us try to do is, hey, I'm going to go on this diet so that in 2 weeks I can get all the way down here.
Right.
And we find ourselves on this roller coaster going high and low.
Yeah.
I advocate simply, hey, listen, look at what you're eating right now, and let's pick one thing that you can get rid of that you really don't need,
Yeah.
that you don't want, or maybe you want it, but you really shouldn't be eating it, drinking it.
Yeah.
Let's pick one thing. Read a book a long time ago, Darren Hardy, Compound Effect.
Great book. I just got exposed to that one. Wow.
Oh,
Yes.
I mean, it works in almost every aspect of life. Every aspect of life.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit here, incremental improvements, and over time you look back and you'll realize, hey, that soda that I was drinking, I really don't need it anymore. I don't even want it anymore. And it really becomes a thing about, which kind of goes into simple thing number three is willpower. Don't even try to build willpower. All it is a little time and a few habits. Because
Uh-huh.
at this point, someone may say, hey, don't you miss this? Or don't you want to so-and-so every now and again? And I don't say it in a judgmental way, like, no, I don't, because I'm better than you. It's because over time, I've just developed a habit of not even wanting it. So the way that I would maybe crave what would be considered healthy is the same way that someone today craves something that's not. And I always try to say, listen, I'm no better than you. The only difference between me and you is a little time and a few developed habits. So slowly but surely. So that's another simple health thing that people take for granted. They think you have to go all in, all
Yeah.
at once, and they get on this roller coaster. And just
Yep.
like in business, hey, Perry, man, I took your advice. I went in, I cleared my savings account, and I went all into the real estate market. It failed.
Mm-hmm.
You were
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
Yeah.
Didn't say do that.
No, no,
I say
yeah,
go wrong.
right.
I
Yeah,
said
it
come
was
out here.
take a little bit.
Exactly. But again, they want to take,
Yeah.
go all in instead of saying, hey, if I take it simple and just do it easy, because the body is governed by natural laws. Most everything is governed by natural laws. And we try to
Love
get
it.
around it and skirt around it and think that we're smarter than, you know, the design of our human body. Like, you're not going to outsmart, you know, your body just because you think something's going in. Your hormones are going to say, I don't care what you think. I know
Right.
what I'm getting, and I'm going to deal with it in a certain way.
Wow, that's crazy powerful. So hold on, I just want to do a quick recap just to make sure that we got this in here. So, simple thing number one, right? Um, Farm versus factory, right? Try to get your food in the form that it was either grown or it was raised in the right environment in the right way.
That's
So
right.
not the farm raised tilapia, because everybody like, oh, it's farm raised. Well, if you knew what that farm raised really mean, what I'm saying, that's that ain't what you want, right? So farm versus factory. So in this simple food, just food in its simplest form, in its real form, love it. Pick one thing to get rid of. Okay, man, I'm 30 pounds overweight. Well, shoot, what I'm saying, I'm gonna stop all alcohol. I ain't gonna eat no carbs. I'm gonna get rid of gluten. I'm gonna right. And then next thing you know what I'm saying, you have a weekend where you got Cane's chicken and
Correct.
Long Island iced teas because what I'm saying, you tried to get rid of everything super quick,
Correct.
right? And then I love this right here: time and habits. And you reference the compound effect, and I believe that's in the book. You talked about getting 1% better. If you could focus on getting 1% better, not, hey, I'm gonna fix this whole thing, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100% today, but focus on getting 1% better. So little time and a few habits.
Yep.
And then now your habits are now, you've been replaced with healthy habits. So
Yep.
where you may have was craving the Coca-Cola, now you're craving, the ice cold water, or instead of craving the chips, you're now craving, XYZ, whatever that may be. So man, that's just solid. That's just solid. And what I love is, though you're plant-based, this didn't say, hey, you need to go plant-based. This said, these are just simple tips, man. Just, hey, how was your food raised? What I'm saying, whether we're talking meat or veggies or whatever the case may be. Pick one thing to get rid of and
Yep.
stay consistent with that, and then you pick something else.
Yep.
And then just time and creating good habits.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah. And it's, you know, some of the things that I deal with is, you know, kind of the mindset piece as well. You know, and one of the things that we've been led to believe is, um, you know, I think the saying goes, you know, we're fed by those who don't care about our health, and our health care is taken care of by people that don't care about what we eat. So,
wow.
you know, we trust the big brands and the big commercials, and they tell us, you gotta get your protein, you know, and they tell you milk does about, you know, they tell you these things, and that's really what we use and internalize as our nutritional advice. And
Wow.
then when we go to the doctor, unfortunately, we really don't hear about nutritional benefits and, hey, I'm going to treat your issues today. But what I would recommend nutritionally is, so we got this kind of broken cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and, you know, ultimately, I also want to kind of break some of those stereotypes, because a lot of the things that we think we need or that we think we should have, we really don't. You know, and there's a lot of chemicals, and I do go into some science because I
Mm-hmm.
think it's important to be simple enough to be understood, but you got to talk a little bit of science so that people don't just think that you're freestyling. So I do throw enough information to say, hey, I do know what I'm talking about. You know, not to the point of giving medical advice, and I'm, you know, I can't replace your personal and individual physician at all. Um, but you know, there are certain things that if you did it, you'd actually get pretty good results in a pretty fast amount of time.
Yeah.
And we just, if we can get out of the mindset of thinking that, you know, these companies are, they wouldn't lie to me on a commercial. If they tell
Right.
me that I need this particular nutritional drink or this meal replacement drink, or that this does a body good, or this is great for all your vitamins and minerals, and one of these a day is all you need to be healthy, and all those kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, why would we listen to someone like that? As I said earlier, it's their job to make a profit, and
Yeah.
good for them. But we
Mm-hmm.
also have an option as a consumer and as really the only thing we can control in our life, for the most part, is what we put in our mouth.
Yeah.
I can't walk down the street and control what people say or what I hear. My ears just work all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I really can't control what goes into my eyes because when my eyes are open, I just see what I see.
Yep.
And I can try to filter it out and deal with it and say, all right, don't worry about that. Forget I saw that. I really can't control what I smell. You know,
Mm-hmm.
smells are smells. Sensory, you know, and touch is touch. If it's cold, if it's hot, I can't control the environment around me. But we can control what we put in
Wow.
our mouths. And the funny part is, and this is another simple concept. We tell our children, don't hang around the wrong people. Don't listen to that music, it's bad for you. Don't listen to the news, it's negative. Don't do that because it's not good for you. So we tell our kids not to do these things, and we tell them to control their environment, but then we give up the one thing that we have absolutely control over, and that's
Wow.
fork to mouth.
What you put?
You know,
Wow.
if you can just control that, you're good to go. And there's a lot of hormonal things that go on inside that make it harder. So I realize it's not easy.
Yep.
It's simple, but it's not easy. And that's where this information comes from. Hey, let me just get you to take one step. You can get to step one. Wow, I took one step. I feel good enough about myself. So I've got some self-confidence because it is tough. Now I'm going to go to step two. By the time you get to step two, I'm feeling a little bit better, which encourages me to go to step three. So there is a process. It's simple, but it's not easy. You're going to hit some walls and hit some challenges. So I want to make sure I address that too, because that's something that's really not addressed. Hey, you will, and it's okay if you have that weekend and I had some Cane's chicken.
Yeah.
It's okay. Starting tomorrow, guess what? Your next bite.
Wow. What you can control.
What you can
Brother, so I got to do a quick pause here. This is amazing. So I've been in the fitness industry longer than I've been in the financial industry. So since '99, and I've never heard it put that simply, if you will. You know, the one thing that we can control from a sensory standpoint versus smell, sight, feel, hear, you know, is what we put in our mouth. That is amazing because that is the one thing that we can control. So wow, that's just mind-blowing to me because it's so simple but so true. That's the one thing we can control. And then also too, you said it, I was writing it down here maybe about 3 or 4 times. Simple but not easy. So it's not, and it's funny because I say the same thing around, you know, the finance piece. It's not a rocket science,
right,
but it's still not easy. It's not all of these different moving parts. It's literally, hey, how do I save money? Well, do you make more money than you spend? It's simple as that. So if you don't have anything left, that means you either need to make more money or you need to spend less.
right.
It's not a rocket science. That's just what it is. But it went back to something you said earlier about just being the natural laws, right? There are natural laws in place, and just understand those laws. If you can understand those laws and then and keep things nice and simple, but that consistency with that simplicity is huge. Brother, what would you tell, you know, the individual who has struggled up and down, right? They struggle with their weight for years and whatnot, and they've tried the diets and things of that nature. You know, what would you advise them as a first step with respects to not just the 4 simple things that we have right here, but mindset? Because I do believe 100% that everything starts with mindset, how you view money, how you view food, how you view fitness. Oh, I hate working out. Well, if you're telling yourself that you're not going to work out, well, I don't want to eat restrictive. I just want to eat what I want. If you tell yourself so, for somebody to get their mindset, you know, right around this, what's something you would tell them?
Sure. And let me take a moment here. You know, you alluded to, you know, being big bro. But let me just say, because you mentioned I have heard of you and you probably have heard of me, but we had never really connected. Man, I heard so many great things about you. I was like, man, I need this guy as a mentor. So I heard so many great things leading up to the time that we first met. And I was like, oh, and we had made that first introduction. I was like, man, I've heard so many great things about you, man. So I know you're doing great things. Let me throw that plug
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So yeah, here's what I would tell someone who's been on the yo-yo and all those different kinds of things. So the first thing that I would definitely say, going back to one of my earlier points, is don't try to do too much too fast. Give yourself permission to take one step at a time. And the reason why I would say that is because whatever condition your body is in, and this is of course excluding any major chronic illnesses, I'm just talking about the average person, your body is already programmed to heal itself. So all you need to do is give it permission to do that a little bit at a time. And the third thing is you're not fighting, because here's what I think a lot of people have been probably tricked into thinking is if you can't succeed on a diet, it's your fault. You're mentally weak, your willpower's low, and you're just not thinking the right way. That's incorrect. You're fighting two battles.
Okay.
There's a whole chemistry set going on in your body that is driving your impulses, your cravings, your addictions. So if you can go into that battle the right way and give yourself permission to ease into it, it took you however many years to get that way. It's going to take you a little bit of time to get out. Yeah. And the last thing that I would say, that I set people up and I say, listen, it's going to be simple, but not easy. But here's the flip side that people kind of forget. It's really not easy to adapt or adopt bad habits, most bad habits either. So you think about somebody who smokes cigarettes, and I'm sure I never smoked cigarettes.
Yeah.
But I know both my parents did, and I know it was hard for them to quit. But I also know, and I'm just going to assume this, and no one's ever corrected me. No one picks up that first cigarette like, ooh, this is smooth. You're coughing. No one drank that first beer as a kid. There's the movies where the kid drinks the beer and they're throwing up. So it's not easy to even get a bad habit. So,
you really have to work for that. You really have to work for that bad habit. Right. Honestly, you have to work for it, for sure.
For sure. And the good news is, hey, if you're in it, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can just realize, you know what? It took me a while to get into it. So it's probably going to take me a while to get out.
Yeah.
But once we really come to those realizations and we really put the right expectations on ourselves and forgive ourselves for, man, this is hard. I really wanted a donut this morning. That's great. First of all, it's great that you wanted it and didn't need it. Celebrate that. Realize, and you're in tune with your body that, hey, my body, my hormones, my hunger hormone ghrelin is kicking in at 8 a.m. because I normally eat at 8 a.m. Yeah. So if I'm doing an intermittent fast, it's not my fault, or it's not that I need, my body's not broken by getting hungry at 8 o'clock. My body does what it needs to do to keep me happy all the time. So I just need to break it of its habits, just like I need to break me of its habits.
Wow.
So really, it's just giving people permission to slow walk into some things. Some people can go all in.
Yeah.
Some people need permission to slow walk into it.
Yeah.
And really, once you start to get that compounded effect, and I'm sure you've heard the old question of, would you rather have, what is it, $1 million now or
a penny every day for the next? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So once you really start getting into it, you really start to get double, triple the results. You might go from cutting one thing out this week, 2 things out next week. By the time you get to that 3rd, 4th, 5th week, you might say, you know what? I now have the capacity within me to give it all up. But had you done that on day 1, you would have failed, or it would have been really hard. So really giving people permission to just, again, simplify it and realize it's not your fault. It's not you and your weak mentality or you and your inability to get over your own, mental block. There's a whole lot of things going on. And if you think back to when you first got started, it probably was tough to really get hooked on that stuff. So give
Yeah,
yourself permission to unhook slowly as well.
man. So you have blessed me with this one right here. So this is our second podcast of the day. First podcast was with our coach, our trainer up here, and we were talking about leadership and coaching and things of that nature. And we're in the process right now of me like, hey, I got to shed about 25 pounds. I'm carrying too much weight. I want to get back to playing basketball. Want to play a bit of run full court with my daughters comfortably and not be worried about blowing an Achilles and things of that nature because I'm overweight.
Right.
But I love this right here. I have it written down here: is give yourself permission to take one step at a time.
Yeah.
Like that is so dang on powerful. And I'll say that again for the people watching and listening to this. In everything, right? You know what I'm saying? Even with what we do, even what you do with your finances, it's okay to take one step at a time. Get rid of that one bill and free up that $10 a month, right? Start putting away $100 a month. It's okay to start, one step at a time, because to your point, that starts to compound. And hey, you're putting away $100. Now you're putting away 500. Now you're putting away 1,000, right? Versus, well, I know I can't get started unless I have $20,000 or $100,000. That's super untrue. And you may find yourself in a situation, if that's the case, you can never get started. So this is just good information for everything. Give yourself permission to take one step at a time. And then I'm gonna go back here as well, because just to kind of tie this into the whole profitology piece. You said it's not just your willpower you're dealing with, right? But the chemistry. And that chemistry, is, how you're made up on the inside and different things from an addiction standpoint where, hey, your body likes this, it releases, a hormone and tells your body like, we really like this. So you're dealing with that chemistry as well. And that's that science piece that a lot of people don't think about.
That's right.
What I'm starting to really understand myself here is it's also a similarity when it comes to finances, right?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Spending, because a lot of people, I can't save. You're addicted to spending. So whether you're addicted to the food, as we tie it together, and you got that DoorDash going extra ham, during the pandemic,
Yeah.
or is, hey, when I buy those new red bottoms, I feel this way.
Yes.
Or when I drive in this whip and I see people look at me like, oh, he's in that whip, and I feel that's chemistry. That is hormones being released and making you feel a certain way that you
Absolutely.
keep going back to the lab to keep that feeling going,
Absolutely.
right? So that's powerful, again, just across the board, man.
Here's another good tie to here's another good tie to finance. And again, I like to make these analogies because, again, in the spirit of simplification, once people can see, let's just say, health in the same way that they understand it, then they're like, oh, okay, well, now that I see it like that, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So from the perspective of finance, and I know generational wealth is a big thing. I know you talk a lot about generational wealth and having a legacy. You said it earlier, to pass along. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, we think we inherit being broke or being poor. But, as Jim Rohn and some of the others says, it's not that you inherit being poor, you inherit the habits of broke people. So,
jeez.
So we don't really, there's some genetic things that we have health-wise that maybe predispose us to some things.
Yeah.
And when we get to say 40, 42, 3 years old, well, this runs in my family. It's not necessarily that you inherited the disease. You inherited the conditions and the habits and the food and the dietary practices. Well, my mom ate this and my grandma ate this till 90 and she lived, so therefore I should. So you don't really inherit so much your body composition completely, your health conditions completely. You inherit the habits that create that. And from a financial perspective, Jim Rohn also said this: walk away from the 95%.
Man, go the other way, go that way.
Yeah, it's very, very hard. And again, this is something that I acknowledge, and I want to help as many people get over this as possible. It's very hard to do what the majority of people don't do.
Yeah.
So when we go out And, you know, I'll go to a fraternity event. We'll go to a conference. We'll go to a meeting or something like that. And even to this day, everyone's looking over with Brother Bailey on what you got.
Yeah.
So even now, I deal with peer pressure or, you know, and I know no one means ill to me. No one has negative, I wish you would eat this because I want bad for you.
Right.
It's just natural human tendency to look at who the outlier is and say, well, look at this guy. What you eating? Salad? What you eating? Grass?
Yeah. Got that rabbit food?
Yeah. Do you even eat?
Yeah. So somebody saw me with a burger one day, like, you eating a burger?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm eating a burger. I love a burger. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, so when it comes to finance, it's going to be unpopular at some point to do what you do. You go out, everyone else is dropping this, buying the car, buying the clothes, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think you said in maybe one of your previous podcasts, someone may look and visually see, well, you must not have because you don't look the part.
Yep.
No, I'm comfortable looking a certain way and doing what other people may not be willing to do so that I can have what other people aren't willing to have.
Yeah.
And really, when it comes to health and diet, I definitely want to prepare people for the fact that people don't mean they don't mean any ill towards you, but don't expect them to say, "Oh, Susie, first of all, don't mind my plate, but let me congratulate you on your healthy choice."
No, that's never gonna happen. That's not that.
It might, but the chances are they're gonna be like, "What you got? What you got? Lose some weight." Yeah.
Oh man, what you eat like? You already lean. What you doing that for? All of that.
Exactly. So, you know, just like finance, so goes health.
Yeah.
You will be unpopular because normal is, if you want to have what normal people have,
What normal people do.
if you
Yep.
want to have what normal people don't have, which you coach your client, hey, if you want your business to outlast, I can't remember what the percentage, whatever percentage of small businesses that fail,
83. Yeah. High as 83. Yep.
then you got to take a really small percentage of activity and do what 83% of people maybe not willing to do.
Yep. That's powerful, brother. So again, just crazy gems on here. This one right here, I have written here on my desk is, you know, it goes into the conversation or debate of nature versus nurture, right? And what you said was really powerful. So there are some things that you're going to get genetically, like your height, skin color, you know, things of that nature. You're going to get genetically, and you may get some situations where you may be predisposed to something as well, as far as heart disease or whatever the case may be. But what you really have control over are the habits that you inherit. And that is so powerful right there, man. You know what I'm saying? Those habits are super important because those habits that, you know, and I know I'm going to offend some folks and not trying to, but, you know, my mom is from Brownsville, Tennessee, right? So she grew up learning how to cook a certain way, like that soul food, right? So we got all kind of, you know, ham hocks, we got chitlins, we got, you know what I'm saying, with the greens, you know, we got this over here and whatnot. And when I got into the fitness industry, no, I can almost tell they sometimes took offense to like, oh, you're not going to eat my food. You're too good for my food anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those type deals because that's what we grew up with. And then when you start to break away from that, like, well, no, I that's not part of my regimen right now. They couldn't understand it. But now here, you know, but over time, they really start to appreciate it. And then I start really educating them like, hey, this is why we can actually substitute this and get a similar, you know, result with respects to the food and something that really still tastes good without compromising the whole health piece and the whole nine. So when you said that, brother, that resonated like crazy because, you know, that's passed down from generation to generation. This is how you make your greens. This is how you make your mac and cheese, right? So I love that. It's the habits that you inherit, not just your genetics. And, you know, again, I haven't seen the math or the data on it, but it's probably coming down to that the habits that you inherit are probably impacting your health and your finances more than what you get genetically.
Absolutely. And there are various studies, and I won't go too deep into it, but I want to say on average, you know, when you look at genetic predisposition, there may be, you know, we often think of that meaning, hey, it runs in my family, therefore I'm definitely going to get it. Mm-hmm. And if I don't get it, I mean, I'm an anomaly. The truth is you probably have about a 10 to 20% more likely chance to get something if you've given your body the right environment and conditions to do so. So I'll give you an example. You talk about something like type 2 diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
If you put two people on the exact same diet, and let's just say it's a diet that really drives the insulin resistance and really drives the internal conditions that lead to that.
Mm-hmm.
One person may be genetically predisposed to get it, and the other one might. That doesn't mean I'm definitely going to get it and this person definitely won't. It means you being 10 to 20% more likely, you may get it at 30. I might not get it until I'm 40.
Got it.
If both of us remove the conditions that create the insulin resistance,
Mm-hmm.
the chances of either one of us getting it go down significantly to where we both have probably a, 75% to an 80% chance of never getting it because we give ourselves the right conditions. So predisposition means you might be a little bit more likely in most cases, but it doesn't mean you're guaranteed.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and one thing
Man.
that I'll tell people, and this is another one of my fundamental pillars, is I really don't, and as you said earlier, like with my plant-based diet, I've been eating, I've been off meat for 15 years. I've been vegan and mostly raw for the greater part of 8 or 9 years. I don't advocate people do what I do. I don't tell people you're wrong if you do it or you don't. I just simply want people to understand, I don't want you to make your decisions based off of bad information. If you
Mm.
say, if you and I can agree that XYZ food is bad and you still choose to eat it, let's handshake and walk away.
That's it.
That's all I want is for you to understand that you have a choice. And once you understand that you have a choice, go ahead and make it either way. What really frustrates me is people convincing themselves that, no, this has to be good. No, it can't be that bad. Well, maybe in moderation. It's okay to know something's bad and do it anyway. So if
Right.
I just happen to be a car guy and I go out and I make that investment in a high value car that may not be advisable from a financial,
Mm-hmm.
from a financial wisdom perspective, but I just am
Mm-hmm.
a car guy, but I know
Mm-hmm.
that that's not a good investment.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than someone saying, I'm gonna go out and buy this appreciable asset. Man, this is that. It's gonna be worth so much money. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
No, it's not.
correct. Don't do it based off of bad information.
Love it.
Make your choice either way, and I'm cool with you going either way. But
Yep.
just make it knowing that, you know what, I have an option and I'm going to choose to go this way and I'm going to choose to go that way based off of whatever consequences I'm willing to accept.
Love it. So we got to start tying it up because I see
Yeah.
here we could sit here and talk here for the next couple hours. But before I go, you just dropping so many gems here. I just want to make sure people are getting these. So one, you know, get the right information. Make sure you're making decisions off the correct information. And then if you choose to turn left or turn right, that's totally up to you. But let's make sure that you're making on the right, I'm saying, off the right information. And I'll even go to say, I always tell people in a lot of my presentations about the difference between opinions, information, and advice. Opinions, I typically take those and throw them in the trash because that's based upon your personal relationship with a situation. Information is usually based upon some factual data that you can go improve from multiple resources. So it usually has some factual data, but it might not even apply to you,
Right.
right? And then advice is when you talk to somebody who's an expert with proven results, who can take some information and give you direction with that particular information.
Right.
So, hey, y'all, when you start thinking about your health or you're talking about your finances, know it's the difference between opinions, information, and advice. The other thing you said right here, which was super key, was, well, you didn't say it exactly like this, but this is how I wrote my note: being in the right environment.
Yes.
And that's huge, right? Because it's tough to keep a solid habit in the wrong environment. If I'm saying, like, if you know you want to cut down on sweets, you probably don't want to work in a chocolate factory, right? So being cognizant of your environment is really, really important as well. Because
Makes
then that goes into the
sense.
example you
With
use.
the hot light on, like, hey, I'm gonna go down. I gotta take that route to work because that hot light is on. Yeah. I'm gonna go to
Right?
work.
and now it's a trigger because your body's used to seeing a holla.
Oh my God, them donuts, man! I'm telling you what, man. I don't know what they put in them, but
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Brother Bailey, man, we appreciate you joining us, man, and for this segment of Profitology. But before we go, what we did was with our team, we decided to take the month of September
okay.
to focus on one of our company core values. And that core value for our company, Diamond Equity Advisors, is becoming a ecosystem engineer. And what we believe is that when we take the focus off of our own personal success and put it and focus on the success of other people, we ultimately win, right? So it's our team knows that if our clients win, we win. If our friends and our network win, we win. So though, I'm saying, we really appreciate you taking the time to get on the show. What we really want to do is be able to promote what you're doing and things of that nature. So, tell folks how they can get in contact with you, how they can find more information. We have your YouTube here on the live, but, just tell the folks who are listening who may not be seeing this live, how to connect with you, where to find you and things of that nature.
Yeah, so I'm definitely right now on YouTube, and once I get further down, I'll expand out to a site and some other different things. And but yeah, definitely right now on YouTube, Marcus Bailey Health. And my aim is to have 2 to 3 of those coming out a week. So I want to make sure I'm delivering some good, timely information. I'm on Facebook, Marcus Bailey. There's another Marcus Bailey who's a news personality somewhere else. So I know we often get confused, but located in Ohio. I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. All the names are the same, Marcus D. Bailey. So definitely check out the YouTube videos. And I'll be transparent in saying that I'm in search of some critical advice. So if I say something that is like, no, that's a bunch of jive, I don't buy it, that doesn't sound right to me, I'd like to hear about it. Please let me know, because the goal is not for me to be right. The goal is for me to provide valuable content to everyone out there. And what you're doing, I can appreciate it so much in your business. And I know that that's why you've been so successful, is because you're pouring into other people. So I'm really just trying to duplicate what you're doing. As you know, that Zig Ziglar already said, if you help enough people do what they want.
That's exactly it. You get what you want, get what you want. Absolutely, my friend.
I'm following your lead, and I'd like to just pour in as many people as possible. So first step right now would be to go to YouTube. And if you're not at the point where you're interested, pass it on to someone who you know is. And I'll just give one final piece of advice. I wish someone at some point 15 years ago would have said, hey, look, man, let me pull you to the side, man. All seriousness, I love you. You need to do something.
Yep.
So don't be afraid to be that for someone else. Not that you even have to send them to my channel, but just step in for someone that needs to hear, hey, listen, I'm concerned about you long-term. Is there anything that I can do to help you take a little bit of control? I know it's something that worries you, that bothers you. What can I do? So reach out, because it's really hard for us to have that, as we said in the very beginning, acknowledgement of self, that I'm in a bad place. It's even harder for us to ask for help.
Yeah.
We already know it's not a friendly environment when we try to change our diet, because people are already going to start criticizing what you got. If I don't see results in a week, look like that diet ain't working. So it's hard for people to do, and they need some help.
Yeah.
So share with someone else, mine or anyone else's resources, and be for someone else what, again, I wish someone would have been for me 15 years ago and pulled me to the side and said, look, dude, get it together. Fortunately, I was able to look at my own self, but I really wish someone would have smacked me upside the head and, look here, you're not doing it right now. You gained too much.
There it is. There it is. Well, in closing out, y'all, I'll say this. Brother Bailey is just truly, truly humble. And I will tell you guys this. With YouTube, that is free information, right? Go subscribe to the YouTube channel, get the information, because one, I'll say this, just in being in the business or the entrepreneur space for over 20 years now, is not often do you find people whose heart is in the right place of giving and wanting to add value to the lives of others. And when you find a person like that, who also knows what they're talking about, because we didn't even get into Brother Bailey's credentials. He has credentials as well. So he's not just some cat off the street talking about, hey, eat some vegetables and get some grass-fed beef. Like, he has credentials behind this, and obviously he has results as well. So go follow, because you want to get information from people who genuinely care about you and results, and not looking to say, hey, yeah, I want to be your, your trainer, this is what it's going to cost me. He just wants to see people win, and then people who are going to continue to gravitate towards them. So you have my, stamp of approval there, big bro Braley. I appreciate you. Yeah, no doubt. Appreciate you joining us for this episode of Profitology. And y'all, make sure you share this episode out, be a blessing to somebody else. You can always find us on Instagram, ECFO, Perry Jeffries, and make sure you go to perryjeffries.com. We have a lot of our free resources on there, as well as the Profitology link, so you can have one place to go find all of our resources. So, hey, y'all, continue to be blessed. Brother Bailey, I appreciate you, Newt. Yo, and we got to do a better job. Make sure we stay in contact, even when we're not on air, my friend. I appreciate you.
For sure.
All right. There it is. Have a great day, brother. Yo.